And we're live. Hopefully
Hello.
the audio is working. Maybe we need to check that.
I'm going
But-
to pull it up now.
How we doing, gentlemen?
I was yawning
Doing
as soon as you said
good.
we're live.
About to check
Beautiful.
and see if we're just talking to ourselves or not.
No, it's good, man. We're
Never
about to
fails.
have the longest day of the year tomorrow.
Oh, I didn't even plan anything.
Yeah, we're live. Okay, we're good. We got audio. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Makes
I
it sound
love
like
hearing my own
there's more than just us. It's just stacked
Oh,
via.
hold on. I hear the audio twice. Here.
It's turned down.
Hold on. Yeah, here we go.
Sounds not right.
There we go. Saved it.
Me putting my phone up interfered with the audio.
Into perpetuity.
Yeah.
No,
That's
our,
how easy
our
it
chat
is.
window here is all buggy. But anyway, I got it figured out.
Did you?
Tomorrow is the longest day of the year. Any plans? I remember the only reason why I know this is Rocket League.
Rocket League?
No, sorry. Is it Rocket League, the animated show?
No.
Rocket Power?
Rocket Power.
Rocket
Oh.
Power. Rocket Power.
League is the soccer car game.
Yes, it is. And I played a lot of that.
I was like, is there like a special event
but
in
I
Rocket League?
couldn't remember if it was both. I was like, wait a minute. But Rocket Power, they did a whole episode about it being the longest day, on June 21st or whatever. And
So
then
they had to do
had to
all
have
these
special-
insane, crazy sports
within a day, and they were
Yeah.
like, we got to take advantage of it.
with Otto, Twister, and forget the nerd kid's name.
Oh, dude, I
See,
couldn't
that
even tell
one
you.
is amazing to me. I didn't watch it that much, but
That one, what,
you
that
were
he
complimenting
knows?
us on the name knowing. Rocket Power.
The memory power of these
Wild
two
Thornberry.
guys.
Yeah, the Wild Thornberries.
Nigel, but what are the others?
Lizzie?
Yeah.
I never watched Wild
Was it
Thornberries.
Lizzie?
Lizzie was the
Girl.
sister.
Yeah, the sister. And then the son.
There's the
I don't even
crazy
know.
one.
Yeah. Oh. I remember what he looks like, but
The
I don't
one-
even remember what the boy looked like.
The one with like that was like an animal.
Yeah.
That they
He was like
like
Tarzan.
yeah, they like adopted him out of the jungle.
He would
Yeah.
just scream every time he got
Mhm.
screen time.
Act
Yeah.
like a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
The older punk sister that like had ripped jeans and
I think she was Lizzie.
a green flannel.
Hmm.
What's the main girl's name?
I don't know.
Eliza.
Eliza?
Thornberry. That I do remember. There we go.
Lizzie and Eliza?
It might be
Nigel,
not,
Donnie.
Debbie.
Donnie's the
Debbie.
crackhead.
but it was Eliza.
Darwin is the silly
the
friend.
monkey.
That's the monkey.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so it's Eliza, the one that we follow around the whole. She's the main character.
The one that could talk to
and
animals.
Debbie's the.
That was Lacey Chabert.
Guess so.
Who else does she do?
She well, one of my like staple movies growing up was Lost in Space with Joey from Friends.
She was in Mean Girls. She played one of
Yeah,
the
she's in Mean Girls.
One of the plastics
yeah.
in Mean Girls.
Did you guys ever watch that Lost in Space?
The
I
one
don't
with Joey
remember.
from Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That's my guilty pleasure. I love that one just
Yeah.
because of nostalgia.
I watched that one.
I used to
quite a
want
lot.
to have his spaceship and his armor. I was into it. The marketing on it.
Did you like the Netflix?
I liked the first season, and then it felt. It happens with all the shows. They start to feel like serialized. Like there's not gonna conclude.
Yeah, they want to just make more money, so
Yeah.
they're trying to drag it out. That's what I appreciate about like British television.
Well, and even like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Breaking
There's an
Bad.
ending,
Like their shows, I feel like are just kind of one and done type
except
stuff.
for Doctor.
Doctor Who is a different story, but like any other like you'll get like maybe 6 episodes a
Mhm.
season, and seasons might drop like once every 5 years.
Well, there
It's
was
like-
the one. It was really good. It was with David Tennant. It was the crime murder one.
Yeah, and then they remade it in America,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in that one also. Played like the same character,
Yeah.
just the American version.
But that one was good, and that one was
Yeah.
short.
Was that Broadchurch? I think it was.
I think it was.
Or is that what the American one was called?
I don't know.
I got super into that. I love those types of
Did you ever watch that, Billy?
suspenseful.
No.
Did you ever watch True Detective?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You would
Oh
like
yeah.
you would like
Mm-hmm.
this then.
I would. True Detective season 1 haunted me. Season 2 was nowhere near as close. And
It
I don't
fell
think
off, for
yeah,
sure.
and then I don't think I watched season 3. Because was it season 2 was with Vince Vaughn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Season 1, I binge watched for the first time, all within like eight or 9 hours. I just watched them all straight through, like one
Nice.
Saturday, and it was such a dark narrative that like I remember being like physically and mentally like affected, but for about a week, because I didn't like the whole.
Yeah.
I loved the show. I thought it was so good, but I don't like anything. I try to stay away from like really really dark negative things. I just don't like it affecting my brain or my mental lot. And like anytime I specifically see stuff with like kids, I go into a different place.
The
man.
one that messed me up was 13 Reasons Why. First season.
See, that didn't affect me in the
No?
slightest. No.
The scene was the suicide scene where they don't cut away in the
Fuck.
bathtub.
Okay, that hit me.
Yeah.
That made me squirmy. But after like 30 minutes, I don't think about it anymore. But that scene, oh god, that is the most visual. I'm shocked it got through like whatever ratings process or whatever that there is, because that was so gut wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
And
Man,
True Detective,
no,
in
in 13 Reasons Why.
the bathroom scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
In the first season when she kills herself, not the second season bathroom scene with the
that one,
the
yeah,
broom.
that's what I'm thinking of.
No,
And that
the
one to
first
me felt
season.
like they were just trying to
Yeah.
cause drama at that point. Like it was like, oh, this, we were able to get all these emotions out of people in this first season. Let's just go crazy in the second one. And so it almost in a weird way lost a lot of its oomph.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
First season was so good. I was addicted to that one.
yeah, I know you were, because we had a mutual friend that was talking about
Yes.
it all the time
I was forced to watch it basically.
by this person.
They wouldn't shut up about it. They're like, "Dylan, you need to watch 13 Reasons
They
Why."
tried to get me to watch it too, and I was like, yeah,
And you know-
I'm good.
They told me, Billy, this person told me, "Dylan, you remind me so much of Cole."
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're not aloof at all, which is that's like the defining characteristic of
So
it.
I was Cole.
You like sleeping with your best friend's wife?
What?
We better watch out. We better watch out.
What?
Cole sleeps with Woody Harrelson's wife. That was the
We're
whole riff
talking about
between them.
13 Reasons Why now.
Yeah, but you said Cole.
Yeah,
There's a
13
character
Reasons
named
Why.
Cole.
That's the main character's name. Is
Isn't
Cole.
Isn't Matthew McConaughey's character name Cole?
I don't
think
know,
so.
but I'm talking about 13 Reasons Why Cole.
Just stay away from his wife, damn it.
I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
what the heck? Did I miss
Who's
an
Cole in
important
13
scene?
Reasons Why? Like the boy that
Dylan,
the one that gets the tape last or whatever.
yeah, well, he's the main character. He's the one that's going through all the tapes, and he like just doles out street justice, and then he realizes,
Yeah, Detective Russ Cole.
Okay, hey, look at that. I remembered that. Okay. Yeah, Russ Cole.
Rustin.
Rustin.
Detective Cole, dude. Okay, that's who I thought you were talking about. And I was like, we better watch the fuck out. I thought they were comparing you to Matthew McConaughey.
You don't remember that arc in 13 Reasons Why?
Where he had sex with his
With her
His
wife.
friend's wife,
yeah
even though they're all,
high schoolers.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I don't.
I mean, maybe in looks a little bit, not like personality.
Why? Because he was like a simpy boy and never did anything, and then fucking the whole
It
thing
was
is
the
his
looks, and in one scene,
fault. Doesn't
guess
even
what?
look like you, dude.
He had a Coca-Cola.
Wow.
And at that point in my life, I was still bringing Coke into like Coca-Cola.
Watch it.
Clarify.
Every morning I drank a
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, and so I'd bring it into work, and like they knew.
You guys are savages. I could never drink a soda before
But so
10 a.m.
that was the reason, because one scene
It's
he
not any
has
worse
one.
than drinking a coffee before 10 a.m.
I don't drink coffee before 10 a.m.
Well,
I just wake up,
Neither do
I walk out nude and bask in the sun,
Nice.
absorb those.
Even on when it's cold out.
Absolutely. That's when it's the best.
When
it's
that way they
cloudy.
can appreciate all assets of you.
Yeah, and I don't even have I don't have a fence in my yard. I just let all the neighbors kind of say hello. So
Nice.
it's quite nice.
He actually is on a registry now.
I am I'm beloved around here.
Beloved or
Beloved.
infamous.
One of the
Ah, there's crazy Billy again.
Good
Every
old
morning.
crazy Billy.
I saw this article of like this. I think there's that one. I can't remember her name. There's this actress that like is obsessed with like this, being naked and being in the sunlight or whatever. And she'll literally like put her ass to the sun. to get-
Interesting. What's What's this girl's name? I'm out of curiosity.
You have any?
I can't even.
Any videos?
I cannot think of it. But it was like a whole like memed article because she was like, "Yeah, you really need to raise your ass to the sunlight and get those natural sun rays."
I think it was Gwyneth
Gwyneth
Paltrow.
Paltrow. Thank you. Yes.
never mind.
that's
She
it.
sunbathes her asshole.
Dude. Yes.
Because
Okay.
she says you absorb more sun
UV light through
your butthole.
through your anus.
That's weird.
It's not weird. It's life changing.
It's. I mean, I
I don't do that.
teach
I know.
their own. I guess.
That's she also sells like vaginal.
Yeah, she sells
Candles.
candles that smell like her.
Ew. What?
Yeah,
Yep, her whole thing.
What is with this psycho people?
and she's pepper.
She like makes money off of pseudoscience too.
Nice.
And
Snake
she's
oil.
married to the dude from Coldplay. Just
I don't know who that is.
Coldplay.
I don't know the dude from Coldplay. Coldplay, not Coldplay.
The band is actually named after him. His name is
His name's Cole.
Coldplay.
Wait, really?
No,
Oh, okay. I was like, that's kind of a cool last name, Coldplay.
the name's Coldplay.
Anyway, that was a hard detour. Dylan, I know you've been. I know you completed Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yes.
And what's your thoughts? That's obviously one of the biggest games out right now. Probably going to win Game of the Year. What are your overall thoughts?
I loved it. I think it is. It's if it wins Game of the Year, unless we have
I think it's
another
a
banger
shoo-in.
come out,
It's a shoe-in.
it deserves it. Like it's
Unless Starfield actually does half the stuff
Yeah.
they say they're gonna do.
then that might be a contender, but
Debatable though.
it deserves Game of the Year with just how it approached puzzles, how it approached gameplay, and all on the Switch. It's amazing to think of how they had to design the puzzles in that game around what they've included and implemented. Like the ability to build anything, which I know is like in Minecraft, you can do that, and you can do that in other games too. But the way they have it in this game truly allows your creative juices to flow. And as far as story, really liked it. Zelda Breath of the Wild, the story was wasn't that strong, but they do it for a reason so that you feel like you're free to explore. Like it's not, one of my biggest complaints in games is when it's like an open world game, but the story is like, if you don't do this now, millions of people are going to die. And it's like, well, I'm going to go do the side mission right now and whatever.
It's like those memes with like Witcher 3 where like, Ciri is literally like about to die or something. So like, Wild Hunt is coming. Ragnarok is invading Skellige. You like want to play Gwent? Like
Yeah.
See, but when I rushed all of like the Gwent challenges before I even did any of the stories. So
yeah, I remember you were like in areas that were like too high level
Way
for you,
above
just so you
my
could play
level.
Gwent.
Well, in The Witcher, they have it to where you can. It is a very low stakes story until a point, and then it becomes high stakes. But early on, you're just trying to find her. She doesn't seem like she's
It doesn't
in that
become
much
high
trouble.
stakes until you pick her up.
Yeah.
So I know this is a hard detour, and I want to come back to Tears of the Kingdom, but I just saw a Reddit post this past week about the most overrated game of all time, and Witcher 3 was number 1. And like 2 or 3 down, Tears of the Kingdom and / Breath of the Wild.
What post is this?
On Reddit, it was just what's the most overrated game, of all
Of
time
course,
or
there's
whatever.
people with Reddit
Yeah.
on hot takes
I
being
think
like, it's actually this.
It's
the
actually-
reason people are feeling that way is because Witcher 3 has been on the top of every top RPG of all time list for like the last almost 10 years. And I think people are just kind of tired of seeing it constantly at the top.
Do you know what the biggest knock was against it? It's combat gameplay.
Its combat was like, it wasn't anything that knocked my socks off, but it was fun. It wasn't like it was bad by any means.
I disagree though. Like I thought when I played it, when it come out 2015,
2015.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. That's almost 10 years
I
old
know.
now. That's crazy.
my experience was I thought the combat was great.
Yeah.
I thought like the spells and like the animations and the
It became more fun on the higher difficulty because then you actually felt, it really makes you feel like a Witcher.
yeah.
No, but you actually felt like
You're
you
preparing
had to
and,
prep with oils and potions and
Do
Yeah.
your
and
research.
it felt more like a Witcher. Like if you're playing on just the easiest difficulty,
You
I
could
still
just
think there's
hack and
enjoyment
slash.
to be had, but I can see why that might feel a little monotonous, just hitting a button over and over again.
Well,
but
And I would like to add too that both games, both those two specifically, are big time
popular.
investments.
Oh, that's true.
So like if you're gonna dedicate yourself to beating those, that's like a couple hundred hours.
yeah,
like-
Witcher, my playthrough was like well over 80 hours.
And you need to be ready to dive in. Like you need to be engaged with it. Because when I first started playing Witcher, I came in late, and I played it before the show. I tried it, and it couldn't keep my attention in that first opening. So eventually, I had to, when I did push through that initial hump because of the interest in the lore, then I got into it. So I think you need to be ready to invest yourself into those games. And some people, I don't think they approach games that way. Like they're like, I only have like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If I only had 10 minutes, I wouldn't go play Witcher.
I would play
Certainly
like
not.
a level in Mario.
Yeah.
Like,
I would agree that my knock against The Witcher I thought the open world part of it was really weak. I thought the world was really weak. I thought it was mainly empty. I certainly hated like the sailing missions where you were like riding a fucking boat for
It's like
20
a
hours.
yeah, I hate
Oh,
anything
man.
that involves sailing on the water, though.
Yeah, dude.
They actually
Um,
fixed that.
Yeah, I heard you could like fast travel or
Now
something.
Yeah.
you could they automatically have fast travel
To like
ports
the port. Yeah,
to wherever you might need to go. But when the game launched,
didn't have any of that.
when you got to Skellige, you had to sail to all those islands. Like, and it was so like,
And I remember when
and then like a harpy or something would come by and you just keep sailing. Like,
I remember beating the game and I wanted to farm the.
you got like all the
This is me.
legendary.
I got all the
gear.
legendary gear, all the weapons, and the armor, and you had to farm like wild materials. And so I had to go to every fucking island to collect whatever. And I just remember like literally like holding up while like just eating, just like sailing, and then randomly you get attacked by shit, and you're like, okay, this isn't even
Yeah.
fun. So like that would be my knock, but like the gameplay, I mean maybe it doesn't hold up today. If it's 8-year-old game,
I still think
give
it
a
holds
break.
up. I replayed it when they remastered it.
Yeah, same.
Because they did a free next gen update. And
Did they overhaul any of the?
mainly the only main change, like none of the gameplay, none of that was altered whatsoever. Really, the main thing is like the lighting. That was
Okay.
really the lighting looks really good now.
They
but
did some quality life touches too. Like I know they adjusted some of the resources on the gear and
Did they? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, for the legendary gear, they made it so they made it different so that it was more obtainable. I think a certain like the Manticore set or something like that.
I loved the gearing system that they had in that game. It's like it kind of led me into that like ARPG stuff that I'm loving in Diablo, where you can like upgrade it and infuse it with materials and make it a little better, make it a little better, make it a little better. Like different weapons scaled differently. I enjoyed the hell out of that, and I think that's why I never put that together of why maybe I like Diablo so much. But The Witcher had that exact system in it for all of its weapons and gear. It's probably why I went and collected the best stuff.
I was just thinking, one of the funniest quests in Witcher is when you are trying to find like a Grandmaster armor, and you have that dwarf, like Crow's Perch, that he like says he is, but really he doesn't know how to do anything, and it's
It's
his
the girl.
It's the girl that does everything, and then you like enter in a contest with that dwarf versus that girl, and his armor looks like shit. And then the guy from Nilfgaard is like, all right, put it on. And some random like guy's like, what? They put it on him, and he just gets shot with the bow and
Yeah,
arrow.
because he's like, I bet my armor can hold up to an arrow, and then
It literally just goes right through the armor. And, like, the dude doesn't die, but he's like, oh. And he's like, don't worry, you'll be compensated, the Nilfgaard guy.
then the girl's armor just pink.
Pristine, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, I'll make you the finest armor in all the land. And you're like, oh, shit. And she's like, come back in 24 hours and I'll have it made. And you go back into some generic, like, witch hunter armor. And I'm like, well, that's
It's like green
disappointing.
level.
Yeah.
And at
like,
that point, when I did the quest, I'm already in like my Grandmaster. Like,
Yeah.
I'll cherish this forever. Sell it
sell it
immediately.
back to her.
Yeah.
Here you go.
This looks familiar. No, trust me. It's not.
Completely brand new.
So, but yeah, the other ones were Tears of the Kingdom / Breath of the Wild.
I'm
Which
interested-
which it's have a game that's as worldwide as this, you're going to have people who just aren't interested in the
Yeah.
mechanics themselves, right? And I think a lot of the people were saying that gameplay was boring, but there was really two primary reasons that I saw that came from that was one, they felt like the weapons, the durability was just fucked on it, and they just hated that whole set, like, part of the game. And they also said that like puzzle fatigue was very real.
So I do agree with the weapons. However, I agree on the first game. Second game, I was like, oh man, it's still in the game, but I like how they changed it. So now in the game, what you do is all the weapons for story reasons, they got like shit on. Like they're horrible. Every weapon in the world got degraded. And so what you have to do is you take monster parts or resources and you fuse it to the weapon. And so I've really liked what they've done with that because it just opens up the ability for you to like just make whatever type of weapon you want. So like for example, you can pick up this sword and there's like an electric lizard, right? Well, when I kill the lizard, I get his horn and I get his tail. I can attach his horn and it becomes like a blade, right? An electric blade that shocks. Or I can attach his tail and it becomes a whip. Both attached to the same sword, but it changes how that weapon is used now, and it increases durability.
Is it permanent when you fuse those together?
You can unfuse it, but it increases durability, and then it will break eventually.
So you have to like constantly fuse things together to keep the durability up. Is that the idea? Or when you fuse the tail on, you can't. There's no more fusion to be had.
You can fuse again, but it only increases the durability that once. If you do an additional fusion, it doesn't increase the durability on it again. So like you could fuse the tail on it. There is a way to unfuse the tail, and then you could put the horn on it, and it doesn't change anything.
So like you could fall in love with a weapon and be like, "This is so much fun," but then know it's fleeting.
But you know how to remake it.
So you can, if you find both original parts, then you can fuse a new weapon.
Well, the nice thing is the base weapon that you're fusing it to is so interchangeable that as long as you have that monster part, you're good. So it's not like I need this specific sword base to make this weapon. That helps a little bit damage wise, but otherwise you could do that to any weapon with that same monster part and you'll get the same. I mean, there's like a spear, there's different weapon types, but it's easy like to find a sword to then fuse to make a lightning sword versus I need the specific handle or I need the specific sword to then attach the horn to. So I like what they've done to evolve it. I still don't, in my mind, it's not perfect because I do like just upgrading and getting a weapon and like, narrowing down my playstyle, but I like the addition they've done if they're going to keep it.
I get why they do it because they want you to continue to explore. Like they don't want you to just fall in love with one weapon and then grind the rest of the game out with that, right?
Well, and there's so many things you can do. Like there's stuff that I haven't even done, but I've just seen online. So like you can freeze meat, a slab of raw meat, attach it to your shield, and you have unlimited like slide. You can slide anywhere.
Like you can sit on your shield. And
you can,
slide
yeah,
around.
you can already shield surf normally down a hill or down like something, but with the ice,
with an piece of iced meat.
Or you can attach a bomb to your shield, and you can jump and go to shield surf, and it'll hit the ground and bounces you up in the air. Or you can have that same bomb on your shield when the enemy hits it, blows them up. If you attach a mushroom to your shield, when an enemy hits it, they bounce off. And I mean, like all those possibilities just from combinations of things, it amazes me. Like ruby is actually, you get rubies, they're actually like heated and they're fire. So if you go into a cold temperature area and your character link is cold, if you have a weapon fused with ruby, just put that on and he'll heat up.
Wow.
So I like what they've done again, but I don't. Weapon durability isn't my favorite, but I do think out of all the games that have it, they made a good adjustment.
Yeah, and they do it purposefully
to give you that creation aspect of realizing I can do anything with these weapons. I could go crazy. Like you can have a boomerang, and you attach. There's this thing called wings on it, and it'll like make it fucking go out there. You could attach a rocket on it. You could do whatever the fuck you want. It might not work. That's the cool thing too. Is it'll let you do anything. So if it doesn't work, you'll just know. Oh, that's not a good combo.
So how often does it come up where it doesn't work?
I
Depends on the player.
Like, do you
Depends
feel
on
like
player.
this should work, but they just didn't program it in?
I don't experiment that much myself.
Oh, okay.
I
I wonder if there's like two blatant things where you're like, okay, this should have happened, but they didn't have.
from what I understand, no.
Some
How does
people
it
get
fail?
pretty wild. The only reason it fails is like design.
Yeah, like the boomerang, for example, that is designed to throw it comes back, and it does damage as it goes by. If you attach the wing, it goes out further. If you were to attach anything heavy, obviously real life physics, it would drop, right? And so that's what happens. If you attach anything that's too heavy, it won't go.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a game I would play.
After the
yeah.
biggest yawn.
Yeah. I've been
No,
fighting it
boring
like
not me, man.
I feel like it
I don't think you'd like it, but
it sounds like an
Mm-hmm.
amazing game. And I feel like this is a game that I might play with like my wife if we were just sitting down side by side having fun and playing in this sort of sandbox type
Mm-hmm.
environment. Because it's like the world is open. You can go where you want. You could do what you want. Like, it seems like that kind of fun game. But it almost seems like too creative. Like Hogwarts Legacy, I definitely got puzzle fatigue, especially on like the Merlin trials. Every single one blew my mind. I was
So-
like, this is amazing. This is really cool. Wow, how unique. But I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I got to do another one of these. Like, I don't know. I just wasn't.
I get puzzle fatigue after like 2.
Yeah. Oh, really? So you're faster than me.
I put up with it.
So what's your take then on like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff? Is it
I love it, but like
you do everything but the puzzles?
well, you can't. I mean, that's such a huge part of the game. But I spent hours just like experimenting and making stuff, so I could play all night without actually doing anything for the story. But I play games like that a lot. I just like seeing how far I could push things, if I could break the game. Like
this
see-
one would be pretty hard to break.
Yeah.
'cause there's a lot of explorability.
Hmm.
But listen to this, Billy. 152 shrines. That's 152 puzzles.
That are individually unique.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, as unique as you can get with 152, but yeah.
Dude, there was like 35 Merlin trials, I think. And I
So imagine
didn't even finish those.
152.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit, playing both Hogwarts and this one's funner. The puzzles are better designed, in my opinion, because you go into a puzzle room and it kind of says, here's the end goal, figure it out. You do whatever, and there's puzzles that you can approach in totally different ways. Versus Hogwarts, it was just kind of like, these are the same puzzles over and over and over and over.
I remember in like in Fallen Order, or not Fallen Order. What's the sequel?
Survivor?
Survivor. The puzzles in that one got boring really quick to me.
Yeah.
That one, like,
Was it rinse and repeat?
like, well, they introduced that slime stuff that you would like control and move.
You had
and,
to
like,
make lines.
yeah, and then so all the puzzles had that, and it was
Well,
just like,
And your character didn't know how to lift stuff up and put stuff down.
it just was weird, Like there was like, I have a lightsaber. This is like glass. Why can't I just cut through this?
There's a thin ass door in front of you,
Yeah.
but you don't have the force ability to lift the door. So you can't go past it. You gotta go complete story missions till you guys.
They're definitely like grasping at straws where they're like, you would have this like really meaningful like memory where you think back on your training, and then all of a sudden you remember how to force lift an object. But it's like, I've been using the force left and right. Why did all of a sudden, oh, now I can do this in a puzzle?
Well, yeah, and you pull people towards you, and you hold them in the air. So what is that? Not lifting them?
Yeah.
Sounds like bad game design in the sense of like they talked about this early on and wanted to include it, but didn't know how to fit it into the story.
Well, I think
and
that
then
was
they were just
everyone's-
like, well, we'll jam it through.
I did like that game a lot.
Mhm.
Mainly because I love Star Wars, so I can forgive a lot when it comes to Star Wars. But one of the main problems with this game that, for example, a game like The Force Unleashed didn't have is it felt like you weren't fighting with a lightsaber. You're fighting with a stick.
Mhm.
Like your lightsaber, like you could beat and smack somebody with your lightsaber like 10 times before they die. Like, why is this not slicing through them? Why is it like hitting them with it? Like it does.
Making
Yeah, and I'm like, no, like,
Stormtrooper
you're
armor
telling
is
me-
made out of Beskar steel
yeah,
now.
you tell me
throw more enemies at me. Don't just make the one enemy strong.
Yeah, like Force Unleashed, that was like people coming at you, just slicing people, decapitating, like,
Electrocuting.
just using the Force to take out entire armies, and like that's what people want when they play as a Jedi or
Isn't
a Sith.
electricity part more of the dark energy, like dark?
It's-
side of the Force?
The
He
Force
was-
Unleashed.
Oh, okay,
You play as basically
cool.
you can choose. You're either like a redeemed Sith or you can go full evil.
Hell
You're
yeah.
Darth Vader's apprentice.
Secret apprentice.
Ooh.
Yeah, because
He's got a
why?
thing for secret apprentices. First, what's her name? And then,
What's her name?
oh my God, Ahsoka.
Oh yeah. Wait, she was secret?
Yeah.
I
Kind
thought
of.
she was out there.
Well, it's pretty secret. The fact that nobody knew about her until.
Flash. Have you guys got any spoilers?
I've pretty much spoiled the whole movie for myself.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, yeah.
I still want to see it, but I
I
don't
feel
know.
like the trailers might pretty much spoil
Everyone I know that saw
kinda
it
know.
personally, they've said it was amazing. And then you go online. I think it's the Ezra Miller of it all. I think.
He brings a drama to it.
Well, there's even like people that have reviewed it that have even said in their reviews like, I'm just going to mention up front that my opinion of Ezra Miller has, warped tainted my review. But I wouldn't be a good reviewer if I wasn't honest about that. And like, so I could at least respect if
I
they
was gonna
say
say
that.
that's pretty respectful.
And I get that, that's the elephant in the room, and I think you kind of have to address that he's a shitty person, and it's not fair that he was able to just stay in this role, and now they're talking like if there's a sequel, he'll be in it still.
And I'm like, no.
It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. That doesn't make sense. But like the criticisms that aren't Ezra Miller, I've heard a lot of complaints about the CGI being
Definitely, that's what
Like-
I've heard as well.
pretty bad.
And I've seen
Um,
pictures of it. It is pretty bad.
Yeah,
That's bad.
And I mean, but granted,
Bad CGI can throw you out of a movie in 2023.
well, and granted, I've seen pictures, and pictures of something in a movie aren't always the best representation because it might be a frame in between frames where they like.
we've put up with bad CGI
Yeah.
for a while now. Like look at Doctor Strange, like that whole first battle with that monster. It was laughable at some
It was
points.
laughable.
So that's not to justify. I'm trying.
Well, I
not
mean, that
making
movie didn't do
excuses.
well, and I think that didn't help at all.
Yeah,
But
well,
so-
the writing also, and
Yeah.
I think that was a overpromise under deliver
Absolutely.
type thing.
I think it was try to get people back into seeing superhero movies after all the stuff that they had put out.
yeah,
But
which is kind of what happened. I think with the Flash.
well, and it's bombing. It's not okay. The headlines say it's bombing, but it's not.
It's made
doing as well as they
$180
thought.
million already on a $200 million budget, but it just came out last Thursday.
But according to the headlines, it's
People
bombing.
I mean,
Well, they're
hasn't
definitely going to
even been
break
a-
even.
it hasn't
But
even
is
come out
this-
a full week. It's not even been out a full week. People
you-
said Little Mermaid bombed and it made like almost $1 billion.
I actually like that movie.
I think
saw it.
people are just a narrative. Like media tries to
spin a narrative.
Yeah,
push things into reality because they want it to be a certain way. Everybody wants this movie to bomb because they don't want Ezra Miller to succeed, which is not. I'm not. If that's what you like, that's on. Like, I get that, but don't just lie about things.
But do you think this is also a case of overpromise, underdeliver? Since
Well, I haven't
since,
seen
like,
it yet, so I got to
that's
reserve
true.
judgment.
That's true. But based on what you guys have seen, like, the question is because James Gunn hyped this up as his favorite superhero movie of all time, right?
Well, not only
That's what he
him,
said,
a
yeah.
bunch of like, remember
other people
all of like even just like normies were like the people that
just
saw
got
it,
out of theater.
they're like,
Amazing.
it changed my life. This is the
Jesus
greatest movie of all time. I think critical. He was like, he thought it was going to be. He's like, honestly, I thought it was going to be the most amazing superhero film of all time because that's what everyone was kind of promised when they went in. He's like, was it bad? No. In fact, it was actually not bad at all. But the fact that everyone was talking about how this was the greatest superhero film of all time, it kind of
Set
just
the expectation.
naturally made you feel a little underwhelmed.
Well, I think maybe the reason it's not performing as well as some superhero movies do is just because of
Where DC's been? DC
yeah
has been?
DC and like
And Ezra Miller.
DC fatigue. I feel like
DC fatigue.
yeah, I mean it ties into
Oh,
superhero fatigue
I
too, but I
guess.
think you can separate it. You can like add it on to superhero fatigue as DC fatigue to the point where it's like we've been seeing these mediocre DC movies for how many years now, and I think some people are just like,
You need to change my mind.
yeah,
by-
they're like, I'm not,
yeah.
I don't care enough to go out and see. Who's this Flash? What movie was he? Oh, he's in Justice League. You mean that crappy one that I watched, or the 4-hour one? Or,
That's how I feel about Spider-Man.
oh my god.
Yeah, except all his
We've
movies.
just had great movie after great movie after
except all
great
his
movie.
movies make billions.
Yeah, they're all good movies too.
Yeah. That's the difference.
Every movie that even says the word Spider-Man is a great
It
movie.
makes $1 billion, so everyone would actually believe that statement.
Are we at the point where a $1 billion movie can be a bad movie?
Absolutely. There's a ton of movies that have made $1 billion that are just like, okay, maybe bad is not quite right, but well,
Like
both
that-
of you
what I'm
guys,
saying,
both
yeah.
of you guys are pretty anti Captain Marvel, right?
No,
No,
not me.
most people I talk to are pretty anti Captain
I'm
Marvel.
looking forward to the Marvels.
Funny
It looks
enough,
fun.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I
at
saw
all.
the trailer and it looked just okay.
I.
I'll
Yeah.
still watch it and I'll probably enjoy it, but
What's her name? Brie Larson.
Yeah.
I think she overacts with her eyes. I
It's a weird
swear to
complaint to
God,
have.
dude.
But anyways, the point
Yeah.
I was making is while I mean I liked that movie, I guess the general consensus between us is we liked it, but that movie was kind of shit on by a lot of people. That made over $1 billion.
Okay, well that's a good example then.
Yeah.
Because I would say that that's not like I compare it to Top Gun, and Top Gun was a phenomenal movie, and that did over $1 billion.
It's almost more impressive when a non-superhero movie
Yeah.
makes $1 billion. Though.
Mhm.
Because
Except for Avatar.
Top Gun, I
Except
think,
for, well, that almost
That's like expected for
Yeah.
some weird reason.
because Top Gun barely made $1 billion, I think, right?
it made like 1.5, I think.
Oh, okay,
but
never mind then. That's pretty damn good.
yeah.
But I remember thinking, like, leaving that and going, "Holy shit," you know. But
No Way
now
Home,
it's like,
No Way Home made over 2, I think, or at least close to 2. And that was like during the height of COVID.
How much is
have a lifetime of
Spider-Verse made?
Spider-Man.
What?
How much is the new Spider-Verse movie made? I wonder.
I want to say like 700 million so far. I could be
The
way off.
New
on that,
Miles
but
Morales one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I got a lifetime of Spider-Man movies. If that's the case, I better start liking them.
Yeah, you should. I
If
don't
they
get
came-
why you don't.
If they came out with a,
I've said on 15 fucking podcasts, Dylan, exactly why I don't like them. You
I
tell
know.
me I
I'm just
don't
saying
like 'em.
you should. It's made 494 million.
wow, I way overestimated that. For some
But
reason,
I mean,
thought
it
was-
hasn't been out
Is that worldwide? or-
long. I was just, right.
Yeah, yeah, who knows?
Wikipedia.
You might have looked at a number today, and that might have been posted 6 days ago. You know, who knows? But
But yeah, my point is, some movies that aren't considered good will still make a lot of money. Like a lot of Transformers movies have made the $1 billion mark.
yeah,
And
that's crazy to me.
yeah.
Like, because Godzilla versus Kong didn't gross $1 billion, did it?
it's
I don't
still like made a profit, but it didn't get $1 billion.
Because I remember seeing that had a budget of like $400 million.
it was like the highest budget of all time.
Yeah, it was insane. And having
Made
watched
470 that million.
what did?
Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Yeah.
So they still made money, but it was not what the investors wanted to see. That's
They
crazy.
made
That's
that
still 15% return.
They made that against a $200 million film budget, but also people suspect that marketing was probably close to 100 million as well. So really, like, they made about 170 million.
Can you believe that? You spent the money to create the product is $200 million.
But
And then to just showcase the product is a half of that.
my question too is what tax write-offs are happening?
Tax write-offs
I'm sure there is.
for what?
For the budget.
How would there be a tax write-off in making a movie?
I don't know, but I'm sure there is.
But that's what that's a big. You got a whole conspiracy theory, like that's where your brain went, and you got nothing to even.
Yeah, I'd have nothing to back it up, but I'm just saying if they can figure out the reason they canceled the Batgirl movie is because they can use it as a write-off.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I feel like the whole write-off thing is overused.
So, I'm just saying. Imagine they probably do have like tax cuts.
Yeah, but I feel like people think when they say like, oh, it's a tax write-off, that like they just get it's like free money. It's like, no, you still spent that money, and you just like don't pay taxes on any net income that would have taken up in that space. So it's not real. It's not one for one.
Holy
even
shit! The
remotely.
live-action Lion King made 1.6 billion.
oh,
I believe it.
why?
That's Lion King.
I didn't know it made that much. Top Gun Maverick made 1.4, almost 1.5. Let's see.
So nerds are really the only ones that spend money in theaters still.
The only like
Yes.
non quote unquote like nerd film that's in here that
Top
isn't
Gun.
like Star Wars, Avatar, Marvel is Top Gun.
And I mean, is Top Gun not a nerd movie now? It pretty much
It is now.
because of the 80s.
Fast and Furious 7
Ew.
is made 1.5 billion.
Oh, 1.5?
Yeah.
How much is Avatar?
Which one?
Which one made more?
The first one.
The first one.
2.9 billion.
Yeah, but they just keep re
Avengers Endgame is 2.7.
That to me is the most successful.
Way of Water is 2.3.
The second Avatar movie got that close just
2.3.
by releasing once?
Avatar, I'm still salty about because the only reason that it is that high is because they re-released it like 7 times.
I know.
And when Endgame beat them, they're like, "Oh, congratulations!" But did you hear we're re-releasing Avatar again?
Well, and that's crazy to think. They re-released it like 7 times, right? The Way of Water, I don't think they've re-released it yet.
No,
And
no.
it already got to 2.3.
They won't unless somebody beats them.
Jesus.
Their budget.
And
I-
Zoe Saldana's in all 3 of those movies.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't get the hype behind Avatar.
I haven't seen either of them.
I've
even
seen them both,
kidding.
and I thought
It
Way of
was
Water
pretty
was. I thought it was decent, but I still think there was a lot of flaws.
I do. I think that
It didn't feel like a $2.3 billion movie to me.
the coolest thing about it for me, at least watching it, is the technology that goes into it. I recently, right around when that movie came out or before it, I started to really watch like Corridor Digital and their VFX breakdowns.
Yeah.
And so when I saw the second one, I was able to really appreciate how good it looks for being fake. Like you look at those avatars and it's like you look at that water and you're like,
It's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's technically the most impressive film probably ever.
like that water isn't real,
And that's
but
awesome.
that looks real.
But I'm also like a story guy,
Of course,
and like
the story was Dances with Wolves in Space.
I wonder.
Again.
I wonder what benefits like that the entire industry gets when like an Avatar movie
Oh,
is
huge.
made, right? Because then they can repurpose that all that technology that was created to push this frontier can then get siphoned off and used in lower budget.
I bet we'll see a lot of cool water stuff.
Wasn't the budget for this film like $1 billion?
no. Well, yes.
Because I remember reading some shit like that.
Avatar: Way of Water. I think they needed to make 1.5 billion to make money. Is what an article I read.
That's crazy, right?
Which they made 2.3,
My
so they
God.
made money. But that is wild.
They
You know what's
only
also
made
crazy
$800 million.
is Disney owns Avatar, so
all the money
Disney-
just goes to Disney anyway.
Disney just owns the world. It's insane. Like
They
there's,
literally do.
a lot of movies on this list that I had no idea made that much money. Transformers: Dark of the Moon had over $1 billion.
I believe it. I liked all the Transformers movies.
I didn't
I
like
liked
Dark of the Moon
up to-
that much.
Up to 3, and then after 3,
Yeah, you're right. I didn't watch any of the Mark Wahlberg
Oh,
or,
God, those
or
were
the
so bad.
non-Megan Fox ones, really.
Let's
But-
see, adjusted for inflation.
It's going to be some
Number
movie
one-
made in
Gone with the Wind.
1400.
Number 1 is still Gone with the Wind.
that's insane, right?
I
If
don't-
it had,
How? How?
If it
Because
had released,
inflation.
well, it's like ticket sales.
But like how How
Like
did that
ticket
many
sales?
people go to see
Yeah, they
Gone with the
adjusted
Wind?
the
I know.
like the
What else
ticket
were
sales.
you doing then, though?
1939.
That's crazy. How
You
many
know?
movie theaters did we have?
I don't know, but if it came out today, it would have made $4.1 billion. Avatar, adjusted for inflation, is actually 3.8. The first Avatar. It's number 2 still, even adjusted for inflation.
Wow.
Came out 2009.
That would be if Gone with the Wind came out and it sounds realistic though. Like 700 million people bought a movie ticket.
But that's crazy to think in 1930.
Well, this was the first Gone with the Wind, right? Was like the first color / audio
It wasn't
film.
the first color film.
No,
No, it wasn't.
it was the first one with sound. I don't know. Was
No.
it? No.
No, they had sound for a while too.
Snow White was first color.
No,
I don't know.
I
Color
almost want to
animated, I
say
think.
Wizard of Oz might have been. That was a huge deal because it was all black and white,
And then
and then when she went to the Land of Oz, it was all in color. And I remember my grandpa being like, everyone was like, "Oh my god!" Like,
while you look that up, Kyle, I learned a really cool fact about sleep and TV. So before color TV was invented, everybody had dreams in black and white.
No.
Only after color TV did people have dreams in
That's
color.
So stupid.
Isn't that wild?
That's not true.
No, it's true.
It's not true.
It's 100% true.
How?
You can look it up. They
I
did
did-
studies.
No fucking. Why did that? Doesn't even make sense.
What do you mean that makes no sense?
Your whole life is in color.
the
Yeah,
world
but they
wasn't black and
dreamt
white.
in black and white
Why?
because they watched TV. in
Okay,
black
then
and
what
white.
did the people do before TV?
Well, they didn't study them. They just studied the people that watch black and white TV. People,
Oh, so you're saying so before TVs, people dreamt in color, and then when the novelty of TVs came out, if you watched a lot of TV, you started dreaming in black and white.
yeah,
and then it went back to color.
yeah.
Okay.
Your brain was changed by black and white TV,
Apparently,
That's pretty fucking crazy.
right?
that's wild. Apparently,
I don't know if I
color
believe it, but
color
that's crazy.
film has actually always been a thing. It was just
Really expensive.
really expensive and arduous because you used to have to hand color each. They
Oh,
couldn't.
they
frame.
could
They
paint.
couldn't have like you would have to do it yourself because they couldn't film like where the film would color it for you. Wizard of Oz was the first major feature film to feature color, and Wizard of Oz came out.
God, could you imagine like before Windows, like animating a film?
Yeah, they used to have to draw on the film piece.
Wizard of Oz also came out in 1939, just before Gone with the Wind, so it's pretty close.
Wow.
I watched
Big year
some
for film.
like it was something about animation, or not even animation. It was about a movie that used like animated backgrounds or like animated, and it's insane the amount of work that went into it. They would paint this glass frame of like a background, and then you would go slide by slide, take a picture, move the film reel, take a picture, and you just did that all day.
Gone with the Wind had a $400 million profit in 1939 off of a $3 million budget. Can you imagine? Well, that'd be $4 billion. I was like, can you imagine what that would be like in 1939?
You would be king.
And
How much did Rockefeller have at like in his dollars?
MGM was king for a while, and they're the ones that released Gone with the Wind. Rockefeller adjusted for inflation.
Like not adjusted for inflation. Like what
At
was
his time.
Like
Rockefeller.
I don't think he ever hit $1 billion in his time. I don't know who the first billionaire was,
Let's see.
but I don't think he hit it like $1 billion in.
His personal wealth in 1913 was 900 million.
He was close.
Oh, he was close then.
So adjusted for inflation,
He's the richest man to ever exist.
yeah, he
It would be like 800 billion probably. He'd be close to $1 trillion. He owned 90% of the entire oil market globally. Like
adjusted for inflation, he was worth around 400 billion.
that's wow. But like if we take what 90% of the oil industry would be today, we're literally talking like 8, 9, 10 trillion dollars. That's
Jeez.
what he would control. And it wasn't done legit. I've seen so many documentaries of like what he would do. It was total monopoly practices.
Back in those
Total-
days.
Literally Wild Wild West shit where it was like, yeah, pretty fucking crazy.
Wow.
Anyway,
Mansa Musa is the richest person to have ever existed, adjusted for inflation.
was he like the prince or king of some
Mansa
place?
Musa is the emperor of Mali.
Yeah.
The emperor occupying a vast territory that spread from Nigeria to the coast of Senegal.
How much?
I'm looking that up now.
I bet. I mean, you could claim like Putin, is probably the wealthiest. I mean, because he can. What do you claim as wealth, right? The ability to move money and make effect on things. Like these people who have sole power.
Actually, Mansa Musa's. Sorry, I just cut you off.
No, you're
But Mansa Musa's sitting right around where Rockefeller was.
Just a cool 400.
400 billion.
You know.
Which that's crazy because Elon got like to 350.
He's like 340 was his top, I think. Yeah.
It's amazing how fluid that.
So
shit
Elon is actually right up there with him. Like,
that's fake money to me though, because like Tesla was so grossly overvalued. It was ridiculous.
oil is tangible.
Yeah, it's like a real resource, right?
Yeah, like,
That's
at
a
least
real
that was
man's
real.
resource.
That's back when men were men.
Versus like this whole crypto stuff. I mean, like there was one guy I think on paper was worth like he owned like 8 trillion Shiba coin or some crazy shit,
Uh-huh.
and it went up like a fraction of a penny, and he made something like $500 million in like an hour or something like that. But it's all like if he ever were to liquidate that, it would never
I
have
think-
such a negative impact.
Kind of what you're getting at here, and something I've heard kind of people have talked about. If your wealth can be diminished over the course of a day, then it's not the same.
It's not wealth.
Yeah.
It's not real wealth. It's not meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's power for sure, but Rockefeller, they weren't diminishing his wealth in a day.
He had power.
He could literally hold like governments hostage, whatever, because he controlled all their energy supply.
It's tangible.
Do you know, like it's kind of funny to think back to those days where like people had like lit their house with like kerosene. They would carry around like jars of kerosene from like room to room. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Dude.
That's what they. I mean, I laugh now,
And then
but
the
that was
thought
just
of,
absolutely like normal.
And then the thought of currents in the air with Tesla was mortifying to them.
Yeah, dude.
Because Edison shocked a cow in front of an audience or something.
With fire, you can understand fire, right? Well, so Edison was hold on. Tesla was on the side of DC current
Whichever one is free current. I forget. I don't know the details, but it
because
wasn't.
Westinghouse was a fan of AC,
Yeah.
which is what won out, and Tesla was a fan of DC
and it won
and
out because
people-
of a
because of price.
price, and also there was a fear campaign.
I remember that
Yeah.
he like literally was condemned for a few things. Actually, he killed the elephant, like you said, and
Yeah, it was an elephant. Like Edison's people, to show the dangers of DC current, they shocked an elephant to death in front of a crowd. They just electrocuted it and
Yeah.
killed it, and was like, "This is what could happen." to you."
as if DC couldn't either.
It's like that
But-
drug commercial with the egg. This is your brain on drugs.
This is
Yeah.
well, and then I read something way back when
misspoke. AC current is the
alternating
AC.
current,
Yeah,
and then direct current. So AC was what Westinghouse. What's his name? I don't remember his first name.
DC current is what won out. Alternating current is
Not for AC is what's in your walls. DC is what we get to like charge our phones. Because I remember whatever one I think Tesla was on the side of DC, but because like his proposals, I think they've done the math on it these days. We don't even have enough copper on Earth to successfully transmit all of the like if everything was directional current, because there's such transmission loss. And that's why AC, you can like change and alter like amperage and voltage with like transformers, which is what those bricks are when you plug in your
Mm-hmm.
phone. So like AC is what we have to the outlets, and then anything coming out of the outlet has to get transformed into directional current for our like phones, or because it's a lot more stable. So DC, I mean, maybe that's what it's saying. Like DC is what we use, but AC is how it gets here. If that makes sense.
Direct current is wired. That's really what it boils down to, and that's what beat out Tesla. And Tesla, he was very he was an advocate for alternating current, and it was marketed as extremely unsafe by everyone.
You know what's funny is like with directional current, if you had enough voltage, you could still kill an elephant.
That's probably how they
They
did
probably
kill the
did it
elephant.
with that.
you
They
know?
didn't. They didn't. People didn't know.
They're like, "Whoa!"
That's just it. But like, carrying around a thing of kerosene, which is so unsafe culturally now, and it obviously was unsafe then too. I mean, it wasn't like nobody was. This is the safest, no. But it like you're literally walking around with a bomb in your hand. That was just what you had to do. There was no other option. But it is pretty amazing to hear like the first house wired up for electricity was something in like the 10s or 20s or something. And then like it's 100 years later, it's illegal to buy a house without it. It's how fast that gets adopted by society when it's something that useful. Must have been really exciting to live then, because I think the transformations then were highly visible in a culture, right? You see stoplights getting invented. You see all like the different technologies, flashlights.
You see lights in cities.
Lights in cities for the first time ever. I didn't even think about that.
You
So
go into a big city and there's lights. You're
Yeah.
like,
and then you get material science advancements and skyscrapers going up. Like, if you lived between 1900 and 2000, you were born in 1900 and you passed away in 2000, you lived 100 years, you would have seen the entire world transform dramatically. You would have saw Friends launched on TV, and you would have seen
internet.
the world go to the First World War. I mean, you're talking, that's a different world. And to see the physical differences nowadays, like, I still think that we're on, like, change is rampant, but the change is inside of this. You know what I mean? And like, this gets faster. This gets more technical and more features.
It's less visual.
And it's less physical. Like, I heard a quote that if you took a house from the 70s, you took a photo of your living room in the 70s, and you removed the screens, you wouldn't easily be able to tell that this photo was from the 1970s and this one was from 2020. And I think that like that's partially true. I mean, obviously like fashion is different too, but like we didn't have like a lot of hard sciences, like material sciences, like massive cultural impactful changes. Now behind the scenes things, diminishing returns are with everything, obviously, but it is kind of interesting to think about that, how dramatically, like, the idea of skyscrapers. Could you imagine in your lifetime that like the tallest building being like 3-4 stories high, and then you go and in your lifetime you see 130 floors of the Empire State or whatever it is?
Well, I think it might have been who was it that said this? Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is that guy's his own thing, but he did point out that
We hate on Neil deGrasse Tyson these days? What's wrong with him?
he's just annoying.
Oh, is
He
he?
talks over everybody all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
You'll
As
ask-
a podcast guest, he's
you'll
not that
ask him
great.
like a question, and he'll completely go off on a tangent on like. But I'm not taking away from his intelligence by any means.
No, of course.
But he pointed out that after the pyramids were built, the next tallest structure built by man was the Eiffel Tower. So between the pyramids and the Eiffel Tower, there was nothing that was taller than the pyramids.
Isn't that wild, dude?
Mhm.
That's fucking crazy.
And then when the Eiffel Tower, that's what finally was taller than the pyramids.
Well, and then time is wild, man. Like Cleopatra, we are closer
I was just gonna say that too.
to the creation of the pyramids than they are to than they are to Cleopatra. Even though we connect her to Egypt, she's way before the
Yeah,
pyramids.
That's how long that civilization was
Yeah,
thriving.
and
we're closer to Cleopatra being alive than she is to the pyramids being constructed. Like it was something like I think like 2,800 years
and she might
between
actually
the pyramids and her, and there's only like 2,000 between us and her. So like
I think
that's how the ancient Egypt. That's how long their empire lasted.
I think they might even be closer to dinosaurs. I was reading something like that.
No,
The pyramids are closer to
65
dinosaurs.
million?
No. Dinosaurs were 65 million years ago.
There's no human
no
on
way.
Earth.
The pyramids were
that's closer.
25.
Humans were 200,000 years. So that's like when the first human popped up. But that's why I'm so glad that we have perfect memory now with technology.
Yeah.
Because you see like the civilization advancements that the Egyptians made with those pyramids, like be able to build them, haul the stone in. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories around that stuff. You can't not sit there and marvel at it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the famous story of the Romans built all these aqueducts and then forgot how to do it again. They lost that knowledge. Like, I'm glad we have perfect memory now because we won't have that. We won't have
Isn't
that
there
issue going
something
forward.
with the concrete? We don't know how they did it.
I've heard that before, and then I've also every time I go and look into that, we did figure it out, and it's like lie inside the concrete, and it's been disputed that they're absolutely without a doubt the concrete made today is miles ahead of where it is. The thing with their concrete was it's like structurally sound, but it does not. It's too rigid. So like if it ever moves, it cracks and then it's like really weak, I guess. And I might be totally backwards here, but that's just off the top of my head. But like the concrete today, because we reinforce it with steel rebar and stuff like that, it's way more structurally sound than what they created then.
People that point to the pyramids as like existence for aliens, and it's like, don't get me wrong, like I'd like to believe, something is out there, and in fact, I very strongly believe that we're not alone in the universe. It just doesn't make any logical sense to think that way. But you can't point to the pyramids and be like aliens. They're like, it would take hundreds of thousands of people to construct something like this. It's like, yeah, they were called slaves. Like, what do you like? I hate to break it to you, but
there's-
that's,
And we had nothing else to do.
yeah, like it's not like that's
We didn't have 9-to-5 jobs.
They were pretty determined to
Yeah.
do that.
yeah. And they're like,
It
why
probably spurred up the economy because they weren't fighting in war. I mean, I don't know the history, but if they were doing that and not fighting in war, at least that's going into something, and people
But they were
aren't dying.
like, why are there pyramids on all different parts of the world? And I'm like, because to like a basic engineer, that's the most steady way to build something.
It's literally the only way to build something,
Yeah,
like stacking it on top of each other.
When you're a kid, you build a rock pile. Guess what shape it's going to end up in?
You want to build a giant monument that's going to stand the test of time. Like, what shape are you picking? You choose a pyramid. It's
yeah.
just fact.
Going back to the whole, I was like kind of reading, because I mean, I didn't know much about it I just know that Tesla got screwed over. But it's so fucking petty on how, like, because like you're saying, DC and AC, it's literally just the direction it flows in, and they're making it seem like, because Tesla's ideas were based on AC current, because, go back and forth rather than one direction, that he was like going to destroy the world. And that's purely
Capitalism.
capitalism.
And, yeah, it's trying to undercut your competitor. And
It will kill elephants, as you can see.
that shit's so wild. It's kind of crazy that we had that was our public debate forum then. Just like scientists bashing at each other, saying like, I could create, how would that happen today? The Twitter war?
Yeah.
Like, you would show like some
I would
mocked-up
love
example.
to see like
Simulation.
Apple, Tim Cook come up against some Samsung guy, and they're on just a stage together. And
Dude, that would be so funny. And like, it's just the whole thing is to be like a roast format, and they're just throwing shade at each other hardcore. That'd be awesome content, actually.
that would
Dude.
be pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I often think about a lot of times too where like talking about the changes of society. right now we have more people on Earth than have ever existed. I think like if you take like this 8 billion people that live now, and you went to like 100 years ago, I don't think 8 billion people have ever existed. I heard something like that. So there's a ton of humans alive, is what I'm saying. And you would think that the pace of technological change or advancement would pick up the more humans you have.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly we live in a peaceful era, so you don't have too much of that percent of population that's just war torn, historically speaking. Obviously it still happens, but historically speaking. But I wonder if like the problems that are left to solve as a society require so much effort that it's like we're on this diminishing scale where all of our ingenuity and efforts go into this technology, mm-hmm. right? And in lieu of something else.
I definitely think
wonder.
so.
Like if this wasn't so profitable and economical and made sense to develop on and iterate and make better, what else would we be as a society like growing and building and doing if this didn't exist?
Well, and there's certain things
pleasure toys.
Yes.
Well, that I also wonder that too. Is we've made a cultural shift of the average American spends like 4.5-5 hours on that every day. Have we hit a level of entertainment where we're actually even though there's 8 billion people, we're actually moving slower towards these frontiers because entertainment is so high that it's good for people to be bored at some level for technological
then you
advancement.
consume their product.
Yeah. Well, and I think in certain places we've hit a big speed bump or a big stop, right? Like space travel. We don't know how to go faster than the speed of light. And we kind of need that if we want to make big jumps in it. We can make little advances like with the phone. You can like make it more efficient, whatever, but we can't really
Not
really
only
do
that
anything.
is a lot of people a lot of brilliant minds accept that unless there's like things that we haven't been exposed to yet, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole element of like
stigma or
is it worth it kind of thing. Like eventually we're going to get to the point where we got to start mining resources outside of Earth, but as long as we have stuff here, I don't think there's going to be enough of a motivation. Because, I mean, even people like Elon Musk is pushing for colonization of Mars. A huge portion of the population doesn't give a fuck. They're like,
I think about that. Like, I often think about that as well, where all the stuff, like this metal, this wood table, the wood house, the plaster walls, like, that was pulled out of that came from something. That was pulled out of the ground. Why aren't there more holes? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like everything came from that. It's crazy to me that there's not just holes everywhere. Because this metal is in the ground, but it's like, I don't know how much dirt did they suck out of the ground to make just this aluminum frame. I don't know, a ton of dirt to melt down to, you know what I mean?
We're in big holes everywhere.
They still say
you're thinking like small holes. We're like places go below sea level. That's a hole. Essentially,
I don't think we dug a city below sea level.
Some mines go below sea level.
Yeah,
I believe that for sure. But it's crazy to me that like that's right. It's mines, right? Mm-hmm. They pull out a ton of dirt. They melt it down. They get a pound of aluminum, and then they put the dirt back. And then it's like,
well, there's still I mean, they still say that if you shrank the Earth down to the size of a billiard ball, it'd be smoother than a billiard ball.
Yeah, I've heard.
That's crazy.
I've heard like if we had a globe, if we shrunk if the globe was like, I don't know, anatomically correct with what the Earth was, it would be smoother than anything we could engineer.
Yeah.
It'd be the smoothest. So like you feeling Mount Everest and stuff like that?
It's just the size of things, the scope of things, which you see that when you see pictures from space. You don't see definition.
You don't see Mount Everest.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. The first time I ever heard that quote was basically Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think, was saying that.
There he is again.
Yep. And but it's such a good point. Like I always thought of, wouldn't it be cool to climb Mount Everest? And then I thought about it, like Mount Everest, the tallest peak. Well, actually, I don't think it's actually the highest point.
It's the tallest peak, but it's not the tallest mountain because
It's the tallest mountain, but not the highest point on Earth's surface, right? That's that mountain in Mexico or South America.
Yeah, the difference is because
it's towards the equator.
it starts at a higher elevation.
Right.
Mount Everest, there's more ground to cover because it starts at a lower elevation.
It's a bigger mountain
So
versus...
it's a bigger mountain because versus if you're already at 8,000 feet, then
Mount Everest is what, like 28,000 feet in the air, like something like 5 miles.
That means nothing.
5 fucking miles? Are you kidding me? People jog that every morning. When I thought about that, I'm like, that's really not that cool to like climb. I'm like, that's not really that
Their slogan
amazing.
is, why do we climb? Because it's there. That's really what they say.
Oh God.
Yeah, because it's there.
But like to risk your life and the more I see about it, people have treated it like shit. They trash it. There's dead bodies used as markers. Like that's not something I'm interested in doing at all.
Unless you
I'm
have
not in
$1
shape
million,
enough.
you can't even hire people to retrieve a dead body. It's too expensive. It's crazy. You can't fly helicopters because
there's not enough air.
There's not enough air, and so like obviously a plane can get there no problem. But where are you gonna land on the fucking
Just a quick flyby?
yeah, hook.
Yeah,
That's
Keep
so
going.
wild to me.
Yeah.
So like when I thought about it in that perspective, or the Marianas Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, it's like 5 miles down. So the difference between the highest peak and the lowest low is 10 miles. People drive that to work in 10
listen
minutes.
to another. Again, I'm thinking of all these Neil deGrasse Tyson things. He was talking to this woman. I feel bad. I don't remember her name, but she basically was like a representative for like space exploration at like either NASA or something. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, he's like, well, how would you explain to somebody that says there can't be any aliens because we would have seen them by now? And she goes, well, think of it this way. You have a cup of just like a 16-ounce cup. You go into the ocean, our ocean on Earth, and you scoop up a cup of water. There's no fish in there. And you say, this must mean there's no fish in the ocean. The cup, the 16-ounce cup, is the equivalent of what we know about space.
That like we've observed?
Yeah, that we've observed. So on all of the Earth's oceans, we have a 16-ounce cup of water.
I can't even. My
so they were
brain
like,
can't even comprehend.
So yeah, so it's like if you go to the ocean and you scoop up a cup of water, you don't see any fish in there. You say this proves that there's no fish in the ocean. That's what it's like saying because aliens haven't talked to us, there must be no aliens. It's the same thing.
That's dude. That I can't even wrap. Space is so big. I can't even wrap my head around it.
That's why I love his quote, the sand one, the single grain of sand. It blows my mind.
For like what, a galaxy or something?
He picks it. He has the grain of sand. He's like, if you hold this grain of sand up in the sky, there are like more universes than you could even comprehend, like in that little square of the sky.
Well, that famous Hubble photo where you like it's all the galaxies.
Mm-hmm.
So they pointed to the darkest spot of the sky that like should have provided no data, and they took photos for like 20 days, whatever. I guess the estimate is across the sky landscape, it would be the width of your thumb if your thumb was like 20 feet away or something like that. So if you put your thumb
20
like
feet
that's
away?
the dot that it looked at, and in that photo there's hundreds of not stars, galaxies, each with millions upon millions of stars.
Isn't that insane?
I know. I literally like I geek out about this stuff so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot I can't even cognitively digest that. I literally, the number is so big, it's so vast. I cannot process it. I cannot visualize it. It's a complete brain failure. It's just like, I get it. I understand. Like, holy shit. I feel the weight of it, but I can't even. What the fuck, you know? I can't even process that.
And then you add that on top of the time span of the galaxy. Like we're in the last second of the last year of the last day on the calendar.
Yeah, I've seen. Have you ever watched Cosmos? That broke
Yeah.
that down. That was so cool.
But like that, And that's so selfish to think we're the only fucking people out there. If the universe is that old and that big,
what is it? The humans have only existed for like what 8 seconds
of the last
of the
day
last
of the
day
last
The
the last
reason
year.
that was such a held on to belief for so long is because of the line in the Bible, the God created man in his own image.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we're not that fucking special. I'm sorry.
But we
I think we're special. I definitely think we're special. But
so
depends on
whether
your
or not
definition of
we-
special.
You know, I think this stuff. I wish we live in a cool era because we have access to this stuff, right? Like back in the day, if you were interested in this, you had some books in the library that you could maybe rent. Before then, good fucking luck. Before libraries really, existed. What did you do? You didn't have
The
access
Library
to
of
this information.
Alexandria.
Now we have podcasts where you have literally the smartest people in the world that
Us.
have dedicated,
yeah, us.
that have dedicated 50 years.
I'm pretty
of
sure
their
we've said
lives.
at least 30 false things tonight.
Minimum. But like 50, you have like people who've literally dedicated their whole lives to studying this niche craft, and they'll jump on a podcast and riff on it for 2 hours, and you sit there and you see the passion, you see the information, and you get to just be a fly on the wall and absorb it and try to absorb it, and then fail to regurgitate it 3 days later, to your friends. We live in like such an amazing time for information that it's so cool.
So fact check from earlier. Everest is 29,000 feet high.
I thought it was around 28.
Marianas Trench is 36,000 feet deep.
So 7 miles.
Altogether, that's 65,000. That's 12.33 miles.
Wait. 65,000.
Yeah. 29,000
Oh,
feet
I see what
high,
you're saying.
36. So 65, 12.33 miles. This person did all the math too here. So he said the diameter of the Earth is 7,917.5 miles. So it's 1.6% of the diameter of Earth. On a tennis ball, that'd be 0.04 inches, or 1/3 the thickness of the fuzz on the ball.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Crazy.
wow.
That's the most extreme differential on Earth.
on Earth, and that's
1/3 the thickness of the fuzz
of
on
the
ball.
fuzz
Pretty wild, man.
on a yeah.
I wonder if, like you go to the moon, you stare at the Earth, if it makes you feel like, how would it make you feel if you were in that position, you had the chance to go to the moon for whatever reason, and you looked at the Earth? Would you feel like, wow, this is amazing, or would you feel like, wow, I'm meaningless?
I think it would be amazing, but it helped me put into perspective. I mean, I already know, but it would help even more cement the fact that we are just so little.
You get over the petty shit real quick, I
Mhm.
think.
Well, I think that's Neil deGrasse Tyson's whole platform, which is like that first photo of when we came around the moon, we took a photo of Earth, all these environmental agencies kicked up, like people started caring about the world because you saw these land masses with no borders drawn, right? And so it was like, now there was a group of people that saw the world globally.
No.
And it was like, hey, we need to look externally. See, I don't have the existential thing that you got. Like, I don't feel small at all. Like when I see that, like I feel like we have a place in this.
I don't feel small in a bad way. I just recognize that everything is fucking petty.
I think, yeah, I'm more of the mindset of like, it doesn't diminish how I feel about life in any way.
Mhm.
It's more like, God, things like wars over religion, like major things, but then even small things like I got mad at somebody for talking to me sideways the other day. It's like, that's, doesn't matter.
Stubbed my toe. It's the worst day ever. And it's like,
None of that
Well,
matters.
My
Like,
DoorDash delivery was delayed 25 minutes, and I bitched about it for an hour.
and it's the worst ever, right?
That's it. I firmly believe the only way to create world peace is the introduction of another intelligent race.
Yeah, and
'Cause
we
then it
start thinking as a
becomes,
human conflict.
I'm a human from Earth rather than I'm a white guy from Ireland. Like you're a human being.
Yeah. I don't know. But it's so damn exciting that we get to. I mean, we just photographed a black hole That was really cool. That
got to
took
hear audio
years.
from it.
Dude, that was pretty ominous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how they transcribe that because they have to convert it, right? It's some signal that they have to ultimately convert. So every signal sort of becomes, I don't know, out of sync, right?
Mhm.
Even radio wave. So I don't know how they were able to get back to. Maybe you can calculate how far away it is and you can convert it back. I don't know, but it was ominous. You know, we have so many cool. I get so excited, man, about this stuff. I get excited that we're finally going back to the moon, which I'll believe when I see it.
I get so pissed off at the people that don't believe the moon landing.
That's a whole fucking
It
thing.
reminds me of an Interstellar.
Yes.
That scene where she's like, your daughter has these outdated textbooks that claim we went to the moon. He's like, you don't believe we went to the moon?
He's like, claim?
She's like, well, I believe that it was a brilliant tactic by the U.S. to bankrupt Russia during the Cold War. Like, and that's almost like, I feel like not that far out of reality, you know?
I certainly hope school districts didn't employ that delusion, but
If the world was falling apart the way Earth was in that, you
Mhm.
know, reality, near future, whatever you want to call it, I could see that happening. Because if you're trying to focus on getting people to rebuild and build crops and, you know, how are they going to do that when they are focused on branching out and exploring?
like
Not saying that's a good solution, but I can see it happening.
turning off that dream of that potential, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just think about like how every tyrannical leader has ever led. It's because they've created a small little world for their people
And a false narrative.
and a false narrative.
Keep them stupid.
Yeah.
Well, on that somber note, tyrannical leaders and all.
Fake moon landing.
No,
Wasn't
get the
real.
fuck. Okay, there. Double negative there. He
Yes.
saved it. Where can people find us?
They can find us on Katie Ratio Podcast under Twitter, Instagram, any major podcast listening platform, as well as YouTube, where you're hopefully watching us right now. If you could leave us a like, a comment, or even subscribe, that'd be great.
Smash that like button
Smash that motherfucking like button
right
Dude,
now.
I like the energy.
right now. Make sure it's not dislike. That was removed, unless you have a plug-in.
No keyboards were harmed in the making of this video.
No keyboards?
Keyboards.
Oh, yeah. None.
Smosh. This is so fucking random. They bought back their channel.
Yeah, Anthony and
Didn't know they sold it.
they sold it
Yeah, they
to
haven't-
Good Mythical Morning.
They haven't been on Smosh in years. Anyways,
Well, go subscribe to them.
There, see
Probably
that
already
that
are.
was the positive note in our.
There we go. All right,
Will
bye,
their
guys.
content improve? We gotta find out.
Bye, guys.